Yo, where the cake at?
Where is
Chef
it?
Matt, you gotta make that.
Take that, take that.
Yeah, what's up
With the big man.
Looking something better than a big night.
Alright guys, welcome. Chef Matt here. What we're doing today is we're going to make a grass-fed, grass-finished beef Greek burger. It's going to have some mint, some parsley, some red onion inside, and we're going to do some roasted broccoli with some natural yeast, which gives it like a little cheesy flavor. And we're also going to do some sweet potato wedges, only because I just think that's the move for the buns, because I stay away from white flour, as you guys already know. All right, let's get into it. All right, first things first. I'm going to chop up a little onion here for the burger. I'll use half for the burger and half for the broccoli. So clean the outside off. I like doing like a really, really small dice for the burger. So it's like little crystals when it cooks in it. So that's the onion. Put it right in our bowl. We can go right in with the beef too at this point. Ooh, the onion's getting to my eye a little bit. Start crying. Oh man. Sometimes it gets to me, sometimes it doesn't. This is making me cry for sure. So we got a little beef here. I'm gonna do a little bit of mint. So mint is obviously not traditionally used in beef, but it's very traditional for like lamb and things of that nature, which is very Greek. So this is kind of a spin on, I guess you can use lamb as well if you want. It's kind of like a lamb burger, but I'm using beef in general. So I use about this much mint, and I'll probably use about half of this parsley as well. So if you don't know how to kind of pick mint off a leaf, you know, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but you obviously don't want the stem on the mint. It's too hard. It's kind of like a bark on a tree. So I love mint. I think mint's very underused. And I think the most underused thing is that it's not used for is anytime you eat any kind of fruit, I think you can use mint on it. Just chop up some mint and throw it on some fruit, like anything, watermelon, cantaloupe, berries. It's like one of the best ways to make like a nice fruit salad of any kind. So yeah, same thing with the mint. You really want to like fine chop it, kind of get it lost in the burger a little bit, but you do want that flavor from it. It just gives it like a freshness, helps your breath if you're on a date too and you don't want to, you know, have that burger flavor in your mouth. No, I'm just kidding. And then we'll get some parsley going. Obviously, everyone works as fast as I do with the chopping, so it's a pretty easy recipe. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, take your time. If this is something you really want to do, you can always chop up all the herbs beforehand. You know, even the onion. Kind of get everything like this, and then kind of just throw it in the fridge. And when people are coming over, you can kind of make the patties, or you can make the patties beforehand. And yeah, have it all ready when you're having a party or something like that, if you want to do it in advance. Again, you don't want the stem on the parsley. You'll be chewing on that for days. You don't want that. Probably use it as a nice toothpick though. I wouldn't recommend it though. And fun little activity, easy to do. And I totally recommend fresh herbs over like, a lot of people buy those like pastes. They have like the basil and the part. Those are fine, but I mean, this is going to give you way more of a, fresh texture. And who knows what those things, I haven't seen what they're laced with as far as like seed oils or things of that nature. But if I had to make a bet, they got something in there as far as like canola or sunflower oil. And you don't want that, especially when you're working with ingredients like this that are all really fresh, all organic, grass-fed, stuff like this. You want it to be as pure as possible. And that's what we're doing here. We're keeping it nice, clean, sexy, and fresh. The herbs are just the way to go. Herbs are so underrated. I mean, people used to use this stuff for healing in some ways, right? Roots and herbs. Put some parsley in a soup when you're younger, clears you right up. And there we go. We got our mint, we got our parsley right in. All right, we're gonna have a little fun here. We're gonna get our hands dirty. I'm gonna add a little bit of breadcrumb. That's for the binding of it. And the one thing I did forget that my cameraman's gonna hand me is the eggs in the fridge. There we go. No one else is here. That's just a random person handing me eggs. Pop an egg in. Right, one egg. That'll help it bind as well. As pasture raised as well. Just to go crazy with everything. I like to do it. I'm going to do an episode next week on just everything as far as how you should go shopping, what you should look for, what you shouldn't look for. So stay tuned for next week. That will be a good one. And that will give you guys a lot of information on things to use, things not to use. Speaking of things to use and not to use, soy sauce, right? This is what you should be using, liquid aminos. All right, it has like 1/5 of the sodium, and aminos are basically what helps your body recover in general, right? You get amino acids from blueberries and all those other things. So why not use that instead of soy sauce? Also gluten-free. So you give it a little splash. I use a little bit of that to give a little salty note to it before I even cover it in salt. So I'm going to clean off my cutting board of the herbs. I don't want to lose any. Let's save them all. And then I'm going to get my hands a little wet. It's easier to mix. And then I'm going to go at this thing. We're going to get the onion in. A lot of people ask me all the time, oh, where do you get your recipes? Well, it's like years of kind of doing things and learning from other people kind of. And then growing up traditionally Italian, I kind of learned a lot from my grandparents, my father, things of that nature. And then, working in the industry for so long, it's almost impossible not to pick up different habits and trades from other people. So this is good. What's good is if you keep one hand wet and one hand dry, you can always add more ingredients on the side. Right? This needs a little more binding, so I'm going to put a little more breadcrumb to bind it. And get it going. I mean, this beef is, you can see the color on it. It's like just beautifully red. And it's got a dark red to it too. That's like the grass fed that you're gonna see. If you get something at a grocery store, right? To be totally honest with you, sometimes they even put like a red dye on the beef. And I know people are like, that's not true. It is true. They want to sell that beef. So, and especially if it's on sale, it's probably because it's been there a little too long. Realistically, I'm not saying that's always what the case is, but you know, if you go to, I've worked in restaurants for whatever, 20 something years, whatever it is. When we put something as a special, it's because we got to get rid of it, realistically. So just keep that in mind, you know? Anyway, okay. So here we go. What I'm gonna do here is, you know, you can go crazy. You can get a little ounce measure out if you want, and you know, weigh them 4 ounces, 5 ounces each, whatever you want to do. What I do is, I just make them the size that I like. And when I get them to a ball consistency like this, I will put it right back in the bowl on the side. And I just make a bunch of little balls. And then when I'm ready to sear them, I just squish them right onto the frying pan. So I just eye them out. Again, you could do whatever you want. If you want to be perfect, go be perfect. I'm happy being a little off. I think it's okay. But, you know, I think making the balls is easy. And you just grab a ball, pop them right in the pan. I mean, you could smell the amino, the mint, and the onion in it already. When this cooks, it's gonna be incredible. And the one thing we will add to it while we're cooking it, and I'll say it again when we're doing it, is I know people get extremely cautious with salt and pepper. I salt and pepper the crap out of it. I think it's great. Another thing people don't understand is, like, while I'm talking about salt and pepper, is when it comes to hydrating, right? People like to drink gallons and gallons of water. Water's a thing, right? You gotta drink a ton of water. You gotta drink a ton of water. Your body's, whatever, 70, 80% water, whatever it is. Your body will not absorb the water without sodium. So you need to put soda, you need to have salt in your body for your body to absorb the water. So keep that in mind, right? When you're hydrating in the morning, you want to have some kind of sodium content. Because if you look at science, it needs a balance in your body to absorb. Am I saying salt the crap out of everything? Kinda, but that's up to you. All right, so we got the burgers. Looks like that. There's like 6 patties. So I'm gonna put this over to the side. Wash my hands real quick. All right, so we cleaned up a little bit, and we're gonna move on to the broccoli. The beef is in the fridge. It kind of helps it stay a little harder, and kind of helps you mold it when you take it out. So we'll move on to the broccoli. The broccoli, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna clean the broccoli off the stem. We're gonna use, again, I said natural yeast, which gives it like a little cheesy flavor on the outside of it. Some salt and pepper, and I use this little garlic herb seasoning that I actually get from Costco. And I'm gonna chop up some onion too, because I just like roasting onion with the broccoli. All right, let's get into it, and we'll show you what's going on here. So I clean them off the stem a little bit. You don't have to be perfect here, because you could always make it smaller after they come off the stem, right? So that's it. You want to take off the stem. Pretty straightforward stuff here. You can also buy it already in florets. I think Trader Joe's and Whole Foods does that. I prefer doing it this way. It's just preference. So you could save these if you wanted to, kind of make a soup, or, you know, clean off the outsides and kind of roast them, make like little sticks out of them if you really wanted to, but right now I'm not going to. I'm gonna put these on the side. Again, look, you can clean them even more if you want, make them the exact size that you want to make them from the cutting board. There's some nice small ones that I could just throw right on. These I want a little smaller. Again, you want it to be around the same size, so when they do cook, they're all cooked around the same way. It's not an emergency to make them exactly the same. If one cooks a little more, that's okay. I like the little pieces that kind of get a little burnt. I think those are the prize pieces, but you know, everyone likes their own thing when it comes to broccoli. and these are all perfect sizes. So we got that going on, right? Push this over to the side a little bit. Get the onion on here. Clean this guy off. It's got a little. The onion I just kind of cut nice and thick so it roasts with the broccoli. Right? And that's kind of how the setup is. From there, avocado oil all over the place. Don't be afraid of it. Especially broccoli, it kind of needs a lot because of the head of it. It needs to soak it in. From there, I'll do a little garlic herb. Again, don't be afraid. You want some flavor on there. From there, we got a little, I mean, it smells even cheesy if you smell it. It smells like a broken up, like Cheeto almost, if you will. Again, don't be afraid with this either. I'm gonna do 2 layers of it because after I mix, I gotta grab my salt and pepper here. After I mix it, I want it to stay on, so it's the first little round. And I'm gonna get my hands dirty a little here with the avocado oil. Don't be afraid. It's just oil, it's not gonna hurt you. So that's how we do that, right? And then sometimes I'll come back and I'll even add a little more oil because it's all on the bottom pretty much now. And then the yeast as well again on top because you want that crisp from the broccoli. And that's kind of it, right? I think that'll do it. Right, I think our oven's ready. We're gonna pop these in the oven. I have the oven around 400 on convection for the broccoli. All right, we'll let that go for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna grab the burgers out and then we'll sear them off and we'll get them going. All right, I forgot our sweet potatoes, which we're using as our buns for the burgers. So I'm gonna show you guys how to cut these to kind of get the biggest and roundest bun you can. It's pretty, again, self-explanatory, but maybe not. You want to go on a bias because it opens up the sweet potato a little more. And you want to cut it kind of thin, but keep it a little on the thicker side too because you want a hearty bun as well. So here you go. That's, get rid of the ends, and then these are the buns for the burger. Again, the burger's probably gonna be a little bigger than the bun, but I recommend using, if you like sweet potatoes like I do, I love sweet potatoes. I don't even use buns anymore. I do this every time. Sweet potato to me is just a massive superfood, great starch, great fiber. So many other things that I can't think of right now that are just, it's so good for you. And since I started using these for buns for burgers, I just don't care for buns at all anymore. And again, you guys know how I feel about flour, you know, how it's sprayed, what it's, you know, all the ingredients in it. It's so hard to find a good bun that if you don't make it yourself. So buy sweet potatoes, use them as buns. They're great for you. All right? We're chopping these up like this, again, on a bias. And these are gonna be the buns for our burgers. I'm gonna put a little bit of avocado oil on here. And we're gonna roast these with the broccoli for about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's gonna be it, man. These are so easy to make. And it's just one more little step that you have to take. And I really do recommend it. Listen, if you love regular potatoes, get a nice fat regular potato and do it. You know, if that's what you prefer. But stay away from the glyphosate that they spray on our wheat. And I know a lot of people are like, oh man, this guy's really preachy, but it makes a difference. It really does. You know, people say they're allergic to gluten, this and that, but some people are just allergic to the crap they put on our wheat. You know, because if you go to another country, they're not spraying that crap. And some people come back and are like, oh wow, I can eat as much bread as I want in Europe, and then I come home and I feel like crap when I eat bread here. That's because their bread is 2 or 3 ingredients, and our bread has 20. So keep that in mind. All right, let's put a little salt and pepper, as I said, and we'll rub them in a little bit. You just want to get the roast on here, and then right in the oven. Broccoli looks sexy already. Get that going, about 15 minutes, burger time. For the broccoli and the sweet potato that I did, I put the oven on 400 convection, and then they're gonna go for about 15 or 20 minutes. You gotta keep your eye on them for the roasting. So now I have a searing pan on here, about medium heat. I kind of let it get pretty hot. I'm gonna do a little bit of avocado oil. Even though the beef has fat on it, I like to kind of put a little layer of fat on the pan as well. And we're gonna sear these guys up nice. And then we're gonna finish them in the oven with the sweet potato and the broccoli. So we'll go through a little bit of 1 or 2 here. I'm gonna do salt and pepper on top. Grab one of my balls that I made earlier. Again, you know, make it look as pretty as you can. And you should hear this when you hit the pan, right? Grab another one. Probably fit around 4 on here, and then I'll finish the last 2 at the end. Maybe 3. We'll do 3 and 3. Again, you gotta let them sear too when they're in the pan, because if you move them around too much, they'll stick and just get sloppy. Let those go. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. You'll start, not you specifically, but the cameraman will probably start smelling the mint, the onions, the parsley, you know, everything you're not gonna smell because you're not here, which is too bad for you. Yeah, put a little bit of more salt and pepper, because like I said, you could have too much, but I like a lot. It just adds, all the flavors come out more with the salt and pepper. And I'll go over next week the kind of salts you can kind of use, as far as like not the ones that are bleached, you know, and that kind of, those kind of things. As far as the fats you should be using for cooking, the fats you should be using for room temperature things, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll let these cook for a little bit, and then we'll jump right back in. All right, so as you can see, it's kind of creating, it's how it's cooked on the outside, and you can kind of see the brown on the bottom. This is the time you should be able to kind of just pull it right off, because it's cooked all the way through, right? So that way, there you go. See the coloring? That is how you sear a nice burger. Don't be afraid to scratch that pan, because it's stainless steel on stainless steel. And this is why, another thing I'll talk about next week is why we don't use the non-stick. Because that non-stick, you'll be eating it. You don't want to eat the non-stick, because that's toxic. So that's why I use stainless steel. I'll do the same thing on the bottom of these. We'll put them in here. We'll finish them in the oven for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Try to keep it like a nice mid-rare. And then we'll eat it, and we'll let you guys know how it tastes. All right. All right, so let's check the broccoli and the sweet potato. Looks like they're looking good. I think I'm gonna take the broccoli out. I mean, as you can see, cooks pretty fast. That was about 15 minutes. Let's check out the sweet potato. These are a little hard to tell, but the best way to do it is flip them over. You can see the coloring on that side, right? So these are pretty much done too. I just recommend leaving them this way. Obviously these are a little hot, but you can use a utensil too. I'm just using my fingers. And those are good to go. Those are our buns. And then we just got to finish our burgers and we're ready to go. Okay, so we flipped the burgers. I think they're ready to take off for the sheet pan and finish in the oven. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Kind of give a nice scrape of the pan. Pop them right on here. Scrape of the pan. Pop on here. Scrape of the pan. Alright. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did with the burgers with the last three. I'm going to put them in the pan. We'll finish them in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes. I'll show you the finished product. One thing I didn't mention earlier is when you cook these in the oven, right, you want to undercook them a little bit because when you take them out of the oven, they're still cooking. So when you take them out, you also want to let them sit for 5 or 7 minutes because the juices inside are going to kind of stay in the burger the longer you let it sit. So if you take it out right away or you overcook it, obviously it's going to be harder and tougher. The undercooking it and then letting it sit makes it more of a juicier burger, and it helps the entire cooking process of the burger in general. So let's finish these in here. All right, let's check the burgers. They've been in for about 6 minutes or so. You can see how they're releasing the juice a little bit. They still got a nice, they're undercooked a little bit. So you want to take them out when they're undercooked. So that's kind of perfect. I'm going to let them sit for about 5 minutes. The juices are going to stay in there. And then we're going to bite into that and see what it looks like. I think it's going to be pretty good. I can taste them already. It's going to be good. The mint is like...
From this angle too, it looks like red.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
It really does.
Oh, cool. So yeah, this is the end result here. We have our roasted broccoli, our sweet potato bun, and our beautiful seared Greek burger with our mint, red onion, and parsley in it. So this actually sat for about 5 minutes already, and they're nice and juicy inside, I promise you. I could even cut into one if you don't believe me. Let's do that. Look at this. That's what you want. The juice just kind of squeezing out of that. Look at that. That's what you want. I could smell the mint too and the red onion. It's so good. I can't wait for you guys to try it. Check it out.
Sweet potato bun, Greek burger. Chef Matt, you did it again.